Are we live?
I think we're live.
We're live. We've been having a pre-show here that nobody's seen. That's just hilarious. Anyway.
Yeah. Maybe some bloopers will be made.
Yeah. Well, welcome everyone to the prospecting call for this Thursday night. I hope you guys all had a great Thanksgiving last Thursday. I did the normal thing and probably ate more carbs than I should have eaten. But I did have a lot of protein as well. So, you know.
I feel like if you don't do that, you didn't do Thanksgiving. But that's just a personal opinion.
And you don't want to offend the people that made the food. So you got to try it all. You know,
that's being a minister, actually.
It's a family thing.
Yeah.
You know? Anyway, so tonight we are going to wing it.
We're winging it, guys.
We're going to talk about some subjects, but I didn't take any notes because this one, we both kind of discussed this earlier in the day and earlier in the week. And we feel like this is a subject we want to kind of volley back and forth a little bit.
Yes, because it's a very common thing that you come across.
It's very common, but it's also one of those things where there's a lot of answers, but there's no perfect answer because it's one of those things that there are so many variables going on that it's really hard to just say this is absolutely 100% the best way to do it and the only way to do it. So what we're talking about tonight is, what do you do when your prospecting pool starts running dry? What do you do when you feel like that you're running out of people to talk to, or people within your, you know, a lot of times people will make a list of their, I know way back in the day in Amway, they claimed that everybody through association knew at least 300 people.
Oh, wow.
So say, make your list of 300 people, you know, the people you know directly, the people they know, the people you know indirectly, you know, and they claimed that everyone knew at least 3 people by association, or 300 people through association.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so that was kind of the rule of thumb back then. I never quite understood it, but but you know, until Facebook came along, then you start understanding, because you're like, well, I only actually have friends that I know personally about 20 or 30, but through them now I have 5,000 people that are saying I'm on their friends list. They get my posts and things. So which brings us to one of the ways to get more people: social media. Hello. It's just, I mean, it's something we all do. It's something we all see. But many times people feel like that it's just, how do I get prospects? I feel like I've exhausted all the means. I've talked to everyone that I know. I've approached all of my warm market. You know, what are some different areas? Well, when you're approaching a warm market, that means they're people that you are directly associated with.
Right.
Okay. So let's say you're in a town like ours, which would be kind of a medium-sized town. We're not really a small town. We're not really a big city. We're about 42,000-ish in our whole city. So let's say that I talk to everyone in the whole city.
Right.
42,000 people. Now let's compare that to the amount of people out there that we don't know, that I don't have personal contact with, that are outside my circle of influence. There's literally billions.
Right.
So when you start running low on these things, then you start going to a cold market. You start going to different lead sources. You start going to social media. You start going to mailing pieces. You start doing all of these different things. So what we're going to do is just kind of discuss some of that. So we've discussed it, and we kind of felt like that it's easiest for us to kind of get going, get rolling on this if we ask each other questions.
Yes.
So me being the person who's been doing this a while, Caitlin being someone who's on the other side of things, she will be the asker and I will be the answerer, or there may be a better way to put that, but
so
we're
Shayne.
going to. Yes.
I'll be the interviewer.
Yeah, she'll be like, need a little microphone.
Also, you guys are the interviewers as well. So
please.
Type your questions, any issues that you've run into when prospecting, how things that you felt when prospecting, like I'm running out of people to talk to. Let us know in the comments. We will absolutely be asking Shayne any questions.
Yes, putting me in the hot seat. So
yeah, hopefully you're ready.
Hopefully I am. So okay.
How often do you think people run into the issue of running out of people in their prospect?
Okay, this is a very common question, and it's a very common occurrence.
Right.
What typically happens is people feel as though they've run out of people, but they're not looking at all their options.
Right.
So that's where we get into what this call is about. We want, or I still call them calls. This isn't really a call, is it?
Because you're
I'm old school.
Gonna say
Don't say old man. Okay, so what we want to do is, one of the things that people say is they're like, well, I've already talked to everyone I know.
Right.
I've already approached people at my church. I've already approached people at the gym.
Right.
I've already approached people here and there. But again, they're talking about people that they're directly in front of.
Right.
And that's a very limited group. And some of these people are not very outgoing. So, when you run into people that aren't as outgoing, they don't have as big of a circle of friends.
Right.
When you get someone like me that talks, that I don't know a stranger, it's endless who I could talk to.
Right.
Okay. So when people ask that, it is very common. And what we have to do at that point is we have to assess with them exactly what avenues they've used to look for prospects, because again, there's so many different ways.
Yeah.
So that would be my next move in that situation is, well, what were some of the areas that you have used?
Right.
And then according to what I receive as an answer from that, then I can go into other areas.
Right.
So let's say, just take hypothetically, let's say that you say, well, I'm running out of people. I'm like, well, what are some of the areas of use? Well, I basically just talk to people I know.
Right.
Okay. Well, my next thing would be, well, have you thought of mailing pieces? Because the
Right.
postcard system is still probably the most popular system we have.
Yeah.
After all these years,
Yes.
after all this technology, after all of social media, the postcard system is still the most popular system.
Right.
Two main reasons. One is we call it rejection-proof marketing, which means if you send out 1,000 of these and 20 people say, I want to do this, those are the only 20 people you're concerned about.
Right.
You don't worry about the fact that there was 980 people that told you no.
Right.
Because you don't see them. It's
Yeah.
rejection proof. You don't feel them telling you no or saying, get out of my face. You just see the people that are responding.
Yeah.
Okay. That's one thing people like about it, is there's less rejection involved. Another thing people like about the postcard system is it's low cost.
Right.
10 cents a postcard. And they're
Yeah.
full color postcard. I mean, these postcards are gorgeous.
Front and back.
Yeah. And glossy. They're glossy. Yeah, I think they're glossy. So I mean, 10 cents. I mean,
Right.
that's amazing. And the leads typically for those, if you use our leads, which are cold leads that are prospecting leads that we've received from different companies. And we usually test market these leads to try and find the best sources we can. They're only 15 cents. That's 25 cents you got. So $25 per 100.
Yes.
It's not bad. But you do have to put stamps on them. And unfortunately, stamps for a postcard, last I checked, was right around 37 cents, I think now. So you actually spend more on the postage than you do the postcard and the lead. But people like that because, if it's 25 cents and let's say it is 37 cents, I think it is. It was 35. I think it went up to 37. So you're looking at $62 per 100.
Right.
That's not a huge investment. A person wants to send out 500 a month. That's a little over $300 a month that they're going to be spending in advertisement.
Right.
You would spend way more than that to put your ad in a newspaper or, depending on, if you get just a classified, maybe not because it's just words, but if you want to put something with any graphics or anything like that, you're going to spend way more than that to get an ad.
You can use the same list multiple times.
Right.
We heard from a postcard expert in the industry. They literally said, you can buy one leads list and use that all year. You don't have to repurchase names. You can use the exact same list and recurrently mail things to them. Right. Like a campaign.
Yeah, exactly.
And it sometimes, because the reason that the success rate is higher when you do that is because it takes 4 times at least for something to be put into somebody's face before they actually analyze it or think about it.
Right. And it's just like with social media, the same thing. The key to social media and being successful on social media is to be in people's faces, be on their screens as much as possible. Content.
Yeah.
By the same token, you're using a leads list and you're just putting your postcard in front of them. They get sick of throwing it away and think, why throw it away? But they think, why do I keep getting this? Okay, maybe I should look into it a little further.
Yeah. And luckily with DiamondsR4Life, we have many systems that have postcards, and some of the systems even have up to 6 different designs. So if you want to do a campaign, you can do a campaign mailing out every 2 months and have 6 designs throughout the year and never run out of content.
Use the same leads list and just send them a different one each time.
And I also feel like that's kind of like a method you can use that is a little bit laid back. You've talked about the fishing metaphor before.
Right.
I feel like that's kind of like throwing your line out there and waiting for people to do that. With
It's like using a bobber and using bait as opposed to a lure.
Yeah.
You just sit out there and you just wait.
Right. Because like with cold calling or something, I feel like that is a little bit more involved for someone who has more time to set aside for doing something like that. And also maybe is a little bit more outgoing than the person that would do postcards.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing, like she mentioned, the next one I was going to mention was cold calling leads or cold calls or cold leads in general, which are going to be people that you've never met. People that are outside your circle of influence, outside your circle of friends, outside of your city limits.
Right.
Those are cold leads. Now, back in the day, again, this is even before my time, people used to just get phone books, which now phone books are, a lot of people don't even know what a phone book looks like.
What is that?
But people would take a phone book and they would just start going through the phone book and just start calling people. Because I mean, not everyone's going to tell you no.
Right.
You're going to find some yeses in there. It's a hard way to go. It's very time consuming. But just like we have leads for our postcards, which again is reaching outside your circle of influence, rejection proof marketing, low cost. You could also go low cost by buying one of our calling lists.
Right.
And the calling lists are cold calls. Now, I will warn you, if you're not an outgoing person or if you don't like hearing rejection, a cold call list is a way to either thicken your skin up or really discourage you really quickly. Because a cold call list is tough. You're going to spend the majority of your time on the phone with answering machines, because everyone has caller ID. A lot of people are not going to pick up a call that is, an unsolicited call or from a number they don't recognize.
And they have call filters built into your phone now. Yeah,
so you can filter them out immediately. So cold calling is a little bit tougher.
Right.
It's one that I use a lot of times on 3 ways to train people. Because if you can get used to doing cold call, you can get through a presentation, talk to somebody, you're not going to have any problem with someone that's actually shows interest in front of you beforehand. So cold calling is also another way to do it. Again, you're reaching an innumerable amount of people because there's just leads all over. I mean, everyone can be a lead. Literally anyone can be a lead when you're talking cold call, because they have no exposure to you, your opportunity, any of that. So cold calling is another one. So you have postcards, which is a mailing, non-rejection or rejection proof marketing system. Then you've got cold calling, which you can use. Another way, if you feel like you're running out of leads, again, social media, what we're using right here tonight, this platform here. Social media, it can be tricky as well, because how do you get people to respond? You can get exposed to a lot of people through social media avenues, through this friend or that friend, or posting on this page or that page, getting in groups that are dealing with marketing, getting in groups that deal with nutrition. You can do all of these things and get in front of these people. But still, social media has become such a common place now that it's very saturated, and people are becoming numb to a lot of these advertisements because they just, the other day I was looking for a pair of shoes on Google because I have a hard time finding the type I like in my size. And for the next week, every time I'd open Facebook or Instagram or anything, there were advertisements for shoes. And I'm like, I didn't care. And you just get numb to it after a while. Every now and then one will catch your eye and you're like, well, I'm glad they put that there. But most of the time I'm like, please, I'm done seeing this. I know what I'm looking for. This is not the company or the shoe I'm looking for. So just stop. So social media has become so saturated, but that doesn't mean it can't be a very, very strong tool, because it has proven to be very strong. So that's another area that can, again, get prospects in front of you. So those are some to start off with.
I also think that even with your warm market, like reapproaching your warm market, and that sounds scary to people, but honestly, I think that reevaluating what contact you had with them, like when someone says, I feel like my prospect pool is running out, like kind of makes me curious, like, okay, well, what kind of things have you done with the prospects that you had? What kind of communication have you had with them? What stage in the process did you get with them at this point that you're at right now, where you feel like everything is dried up? because reapproaching your warm market is actually easier and simpler than it sounds.
Right.
And it's very doable, even if you have approached them so many times before and they're burnt out on opportunities that you have offered them or products that you have offered them. Lauren and Mike have said so many times before that reapproaching a burnt warm market is actually, there's a very good strategy behind doing it.
Right.
And you kind of have to swallow your pride to be able to do it. But I honestly feel like if you feel like your warm market is burnt out, consider reapproaching them with this opportunity. And there's a strategy behind it. We actually have, if you feel like it's a good time for it, a PDF going over how like this whole process of a warm market focus. And we're developing this. So this is one side of the warm market training that we're developing, and it's for product consumers. So
you guys are getting a sneak peek here.
Sneak peek.
Yeah, because one of the things that I mentioned to Caitlin was that I felt like this would be a good time, good opportunity to share a little bit of what we're doing to help with this particular issue, because this is an issue that comes up. Many times, like there's a couple of people I've been doing 3-ways. Well, there's a lot of people I've been doing 3-ways with, but there's a couple in particular that have had a really tough time. They've tried the postcards and they've gotten responses, but they've had a really hard time getting the closes. They've done the co-ops and they've had good responses, but they have a really hard time getting the close. And we've done 3-ways together, and I've worked with them and trained them. And but the problem is that they're just they feel like without me on the phone, they can't do it themselves. So we'll get the person started. I'll turn them over to them. And then when we check back, they haven't signed up, or, well, it fell apart. Well, and they have a hard time with that. And so what they've done is lately, some of these guys have started doing their warm market again, like you said. But what they've done is they've started using the postcards as a business card, as a calling card. They put their stuff on and they just hand it to them, and they'll give them a sample of Energy Go sticks or Rio Vita sticks or something like that. And they have actually had more success in the last several months by doing their warm market and approaching people face to face than they were doing with the postcards. Even though they love the postcards, they love the responses, they love not having to worry about just send it and let it go. But they've had more success in reapproaching a warm market that they felt was dead. And now they've found some, they've revitalized it. So when we spoke earlier, I asked Caitlin if it'd be okay to bring this up and show kind of what we're doing, because this goes hand in hand with what she's talking about, and even the scenario I'm talking about. These guys could benefit from something like this. So, so take it away.
Okay. And one thing I want to mention that I thought was really cool is that the people he was talking about let the tools do the magic. They let the tools make the magic happen. They let the product samples make the magic happen. That is called transferring the technically credibility, but also allowing the tools to do the telling and the selling for you. Like we always say, we have so many tools available to you, no matter what avenue you are going for. There are so many tools available to you as a member of the DiamondsR4Life team. Hundreds of tools, you guys. So
she spends waking hours helping to refine these tools. So please
take advantage.
Make this young lady's life worth it.
Literally, I'm not even gonna lie before we move on. It makes me so happy to hear that the tools that we've been developing are working and being used by you guys, because that's like being able to see your work.
Fruits of your labor.
Yeah, it's so awesome. So like you guys being able to see like your people ordering on your downline or signing up in your downline, we get the exact same feeling when we see you using all the tools and letting them work for you. So just a shout out on that. Let's get to this warm market guide. This is again tailored to product consumers. We are splitting it. So we're doing product consumers and then income developers. So you have a guide on both. So the first thing is a cover page. And also I want to mention, this is going into a DiamondsR4Life University online course, but we also have this available for each course going forward. So you can use this as offline systems too.
Cool.
So we have online and offline systems being developed at the same time.
Right.
So the first thing is a product consumer prospecting list. And we have a couple tips at the top. So grabbing your catalog or hopping on your device to go to the 4Life shop tab and looking at each of those products, writing down the people that you think would benefit from them or be interested in each product. And then grabbing your device and hopping on your social media accounts, or even just going through your phone contacts.
Right.
To think of people that you have been in contact with, and writing those people down. We have a couple categories here, obviously name, health goal, if you know it. If you don't, that is addressed later on in this PDF. Suggested products for that health goal, and then the approachability level. So the two things you really want to focus on when you're filling this out at first is name and approachability.
Right.
Okay, so we have 2 sheets of this, which now that you say the whole 300 people thing from earlier, I'm kind of thinking we might need to add another
like I
page.
said, that was the old school mentality. Is that they figure everybody through association knew that many people.
Okay.
But like one of the gentlemen I was speaking of earlier, that's almost exactly what he did. Now he didn't have this PDF, but through the training we'd had, that's what he did. Was he looked at people he knew in his church first. That's who he approached first, was the people in his church. And he knew they had certain health challenges.
Right.
And he knew that he didn't approach them from a business standpoint.
Right.
Because he's like, these people have, they've heard this before, they've been burned on this, but I want to get them on the product.
Yes.
If they see the product work, it's much easier to then segue into the business.
So much easier.
When they already believe in the product, because they're
Yes.
like, this product's great. The company must really know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So
I actually have a question
Mhm.
because I feel like, and I don't have as much experience as you do in talking to doing strategies and stuff.
Right.
But I have this feeling that when it comes to your warm market, people that you already know,
Mhm.
is it better to come to them with the product first?
I think
Like 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, I was going to say, usually that's an easier sell.
Right.
Because most people, the minute you start mentioning, I have a business opportunity or I have this unique thing to help you make money, their guard goes up. But if you approach them, especially now with, again, now we've got a new variant people are talking about,
Right.
whether it ends up being a big deal or not, they're saying it looks mild, which thank God.
Right.
But the fact is, it's still mutating.
Yep.
That's what's scary. It's still mutating.
Right.
But but that all aside, people can use that. Like for professional networkers, when the pandemic started, people were like, man, this is going to just tank our business.
Right.
Our business like almost doubled. Like
Yeah.
our sales and customers and things just shot through the roof because everybody's like,
Immune system.
the immune system's the only thing protecting me.
Yeah.
Because a vaccine was so far off at that point. We still weren't even sure what we were dealing with. But everyone agreed that a strong immune system is your number one way of your number one source of protection.
Right.
So people started buying this stuff like crazy. So right now we're on the back half of it, the back side of it, at least for the time being. And so people are beginning to ease up a little bit, but they're still very aware of the fact that, hey, we're not completely out of the woods. So I need to protect myself. So I would say, probably 80% of the time or better, unless they approach you or unless you bring it to them and they say, well, is there a business involved?
Right.
Leaning on the product is a safe bet for anybody, because if you get someone that is just a product user, you've hit them right where they're at.
Right.
If you got someone who is interested in the business, but they don't want to just jump on board with anything, you're getting credibility by getting the product to them first, because they will see the product and that it works, and it gives them credibility about the overall, business. So
I also kind of feel like sometimes it kind of is a risk. Depending on, do I do product? Do I do opportunity? I feel like there's a risk there in picking which one could be right.
Mhm.
And with the opportunity, I feel like if it is on the bad side of that,
Mhm.
their attitude could be like a burnt bridge in a way. Like
they become dismissive right away. Because they're like, I've been there, done that.
And then like 3 months down the line, if you're like, hey, they have that health they have a new health goal and I know that this product could help them, and you approach them, they might be a sour Sally because they know that it's opportunity based. They might think your intention behind sharing it with them is business based and not genuine care or help.
Well, I will say this, that I don't know that I've ever heard of anyone saying, this is a great business, but wow, there's this product. I never hear that, but I've heard dozens of times, this product's amazing. You mean there's a chance I can sell this?
Right.
Okay. There's a lot, when you look at it, it's the same, it's opposite
like
sides of this.
versa,
It's opposite sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
But the thing is that people, when you approach them with the product, if someone buys a product, they're going to buy a product at the store. There's no expectation past whether this product works or not. And if the product works at the store, they'll buy it again. If it doesn't, they won't. So there's less risk involved, and there's less at stake for them. If they try the product and it doesn't work, they just don't order it again. But when you tell someone you can make money at this and they get involved strictly on the money and they don't make money right away, because we know that it doesn't happen overnight. We know that it is tough to
it's not get rich quick.
Yeah, it isn't. Not at all.
That's the beauty of it.
Right.
People don't see that sometimes, but that is the beauty of this opportunity.
Right. It's built strong and steady, and it's built right. But when you bank everything on the opportunity for someone who's really like, I need to make money now, and they don't see that money right now, they're just ready to discount. They don't care what the products are at that point because I couldn't sell enough of them to make any money.
Right.
So if you start off with a product, there's a lot less risk involved on their part, which makes the risk on your part much easier as well.
It's also easier to transition them from product user to business builder because as a product user, if they're becoming a business builder, it's because they believe in the product. They have a product testimony, and they probably have already been sharing the product with their warm market. They already feel comfortable with that process.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
So you have almost a perfect storm when it comes to a product user who transitions. And like you're saying, it's not like we're saying, don't ever introduce people to the business first.
Right.
It's just 8 times out of 10, it's a better idea unless you know the person so well. They've mentioned something like this before, that they're interested in something like this. A scenario like that would be the ideal.
Yeah, and those type of people, you will know them ahead of time.
Yeah.
You already know that they're the type of people that are looking for an opportunity.
Right.
And so it's easier to approach them. But once again, you can, even when you approach them with the opportunity, you can also rely heavily on the fact that this product is legitimate.
Yes.
This product is work. That's what makes us unique.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Because the product is a big part of the magic in this company. If you're not connected with the product, you're only connected with the opportunity, it might be a little rough for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Because one of the great things that keeps our retention rate so high is that people fall in love with the product. They love the product. They use the product. So even if the business doesn't work, they're product users, and they'll continue to use the product because they believe in it.
Right.
A lot of companies don't do that.
Yeah.
They have what we call Me Too products. Everyone's got them. You can find them anywhere. And so when the business doesn't work, what's the point in getting it from you when I can get it cheaper down the street? If I really like what it's doing, I can get it at Walmart or Whole Foods, whatever, cheaper than I can get it from you.
Yeah.
And they're not going to hit me every month. I buy it when I need it. You
right.
know? So with us, what sets us apart is that we have such an effective product.
Yeah.
And that product keeps people hooked in.
Right.
So,
true.
it's a great opportunity, which God knows we've gone through that a million times about why this is one of the best opportunities out there. But that's just another point that we often talk about, is that the product in this company is far beyond anything else out there.
Oh, yeah.
It's legitimate. We've been in this 23 years. In 23 years, there's been no other matches to us.
Right.
No one's copied it. And even if they did, we've gone so far from the original.
Ahead.
Yeah, the original product that they would try to copy. We're not even in that same ballgame anymore.
Right.
I mean, that's so.
That's child's play.
Yeah, we've moved way beyond that. And so, but most companies won't do it because it's such a tedious process.
Right.
As I talked about a few back about the actual process from cow in the field to actually making the product. It's very expensive. It's very tedious. If it's not done right, it doesn't work.
Right.
And most companies are not willing to invest the money or the time to make it right and bring it to market because they won't make anything.
Another thing that I think is really cool is that 4Life invest in studies
Oh,
on
yeah.
their products. It is 4Life research. They research the products, the ingredients, the formulations.
Right.
That's why I always love when Dr. Brent Vaughn does the product training on the US sales team, because he goes into the nitty gritty.
Right.
He gives some like, did
Stuff that
you
you don't
know?
even know.
Yeah.
You're like, what? I don't understand.
It's so cool. He gives some behind the scenes things.
Oh, yeah.
Like on the, I believe it was the Feel Right product training that DiamondsR4Life did a couple weeks back. I mentioned something that they had talked about the formulations. They did the formulations multiple times in multiple different ways to see which one would be the most effective. And 4Life was the one that they figured that out for us. They didn't just throw something together and be like, hey, here's some Feel Right. We got some marketing phrases you can use for it.
Right.
Like, it's actually proven to be effective.
Right. And the other thing is that with 4Life, like you said, we pay for the studies.
Right.
Okay. A lot of companies will tell you with all these studies, and what they've done is they've looked through some book and they found a study that was done 20 years ago with the US Army that proved this. And then because a component of their product is in that study, but the study wasn't done on their product, but a component happens to be in there, they will spin that and put it in their marketing materials that, hey, ours was tested by the US Army.
Right.
When no, technically it wasn't. You're like, oh yeah, they did a study and the component that's in your product was part of that, but it was not tested on your product at all. We've got studies from Auburn University, Missouri State University, from several governmental health agencies, and these are all things that 4Life has been actively involved in to get these studies done on our particular product. What our product does in these studies, not colostrum or not a leukocyte that, we have those studies as well. But that's what spawned the David Lismy's interest in finding transfer factors. But since our product's been out, we've had several studies that have been done on our products to prove its legitimacy. And again, 23 years later, we're still the only company doing it.
And some of those studies are in the prescriber's digital reference, which used to be the physician's desk reference.
Still PDR both ways. But,
so FYI, we're gonna move on a little bit. We've been
we thought we'd be done 10 minutes ago.
I know,
We're like, oh, this will be easy. 15 minutes, we'll be in and out.
Okay. So
you get two people like talking. Well.
It could be a while.
And we're full of information, both of us.
Yes.
So. Okay, so now we've gone through this. So you find the people, you find what is going to be something they would be interested in. Write them down, how approachable they are. It's very self-explanatory, but this is something that will help you create a prospect list of people that you know or people you have association with. They could be people from work, people from church, people from the gym, people from the rec center, people from, they don't have to be your aunts, uncles, cousins. They don't have to be immediate family.
Speaking of that, we have a jog your memory section.
Oh, see? So this is how you do it. This is how I put people on my phone a lot of times. I'm like, okay, Jim met him at Dillon's. Jim from Dillon's. So
Jim chiropractor.
Exactly. So the jog your memory is great because many times, especially if you are someone that's going to talk to a lot of people, you might talk to three Kates. You might talk to a couple of Toms, or you might talk to a Bill or 2 or 3 Bills. So you have to be able to differentiate them. Even if you get their full name, you still may not have a point of references. When did I meet this person, or what did I talk to them about? So you can put things like what they, like it says here, who sold you your house, if it's someone that you met in a transaction, who struggles with these different problems. You talk to them. I've talked to people that are in the grocery line. You see them yawning in the middle of the day, like, hey, what's up? And so find out they have low energy. So you put that in there.
Speaking of that, we have some scripts you can use.
See, perfect. Person. Segues. Segue. That's what we're talking about. Okay. So things like that. If you're tired, if you see someone that has lost a lot of weight, or maybe on the flip side, you got to be careful how you approach this, gained a lot of weight.
Which we actually mentioned that in here. If you don't have a personal testimony and you're approaching someone who is overweight, don't do it. I feel like let's say
Don't do it.
99% of the time, it's probably a bad idea to approach someone who is overweight,
Right.
and you have no personal testimony of losing weight. You're like, hey, I got something you can use.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do that.
Yeah. Now, me, I'm a gym rat. So
That's true.
at the gym, there's people that will approach me wanting to know, hey,
Yeah.
what can I do to lose? I was telling Caitlin earlier that just before this meeting, a friend of mine's wife asked me if I could help her with gaining some muscle mass, because she's lost a lot of weight, but she's also lost muscle, and she's getting older, and that's not a good thing.
Right.
So that's an opportunity for me as well to also introduce some of these products to her.
Right.
People at the gym have, they'll watch me working out and they'll be like, hey, I've seen you've lost some weight. What can I do? That's okay. And
Right.
that's a time when a person is overweight and you can actually address it
Yeah.
head on, and they're okay with it and you're okay with it.
Oh yeah.
But the great thing about it is, if you use them if you get them to use the products,
Right.
and they start seeing a difference, they become your testimony
Yes.
as well as their own testimony.
Yes.
And now you have a leg to stand on by approaching other people.
Which is a good point, because it sparks thought in my mind. If you come across someone who starts to use the products, has a fantastic testimony, they are not interested in earning any sort of referral bonus, any sort of, we have preferred customers have a, it's slipping my mind. They're My Shop rewards.
Oh yeah.
And so they basically take your rewards and they subtract that from your total every month, so you don't pay as much in products.
Right.
If they're
But
not
you're
even
still-
interested in doing something like that,
Right.
always ask your product users, hey, I know you're having a great time. Obviously, this probably isn't like the straight script, but something along the lines of, you're having a great time with these products. Do you feel like there's anybody in your circle of influence that would be interested in these products?
Right.
You're always going to be able to get referrals. If your prospect pool is running dry, go through your downline list, go through your customers, and start building. Remember, we always talk about building connections with your people. So you should have a connection before you ask for a referral. But that is something you can do if your prospect pool is running dry.
Right.
So on here, we have some generic scripts you can use. For the people that you filled out on this, we also have some targeted scripts, so you can kind of get an idea of what it would sound like with something that's targeted.
Right.
Okay. So then we have some more of these. And then how to tie in a testimony that isn't yours. I had somebody the other day, and it might have even been on the Tuesday night product training. We had someone say something about before the training, they said something about their friend or someone was interested in this product, and I was telling her about a product testimony that was not mine but was someone else's, and she goes, oh, but that's not my testimony. And I was like, girl, you can use that.
Right.
That is a testimony on the product. It doesn't have to be yours.
Yeah.
So
And if you have firsthand knowledge of it,
Right.
then it's again, that can still be strong.
Right.
Because I've talked to people and said, now, I was personally involved with this person. I saw what happened. I was there. I witnessed it myself. And this is what I saw the product do, or this is how they responded to it.
Right.
And that might as well have just been my testimony when
Right.
I told them, because they were like, wow, that really,
that's
you know,
amazing.
because I wasn't pulling it from thin air. I wasn't pulling it, oh, I read this in, some magazine or whatever. It's like, these are people that I personally knew.
Right.
I was involved with them and saw this happen. So anytime you have anything like that through association, again, that's a transfer of credibility is all
Right.
you're doing, because you were actually a part of that. It's not like you're just pulling something out of thin air. So
Right.
yeah, that's a great point.
Yep. And then the last page is basically just an overview of your steps. Because I know sometimes when I'm going through a document, I read everything, but then I get to the end of it and I'm like, so what am I supposed to do?
Yeah. It's like, what was point one again?
Yeah. So there's a little bit of an overview of your steps. So you can just make sure that you get everything checked off of your list. And then we have a note section and just some resources for you for prospecting,
Right.
becoming a product of the product, all of that fun stuff.
These resources are what we're constantly talking about. These are valuable resources. They are going to help you in just in ways you probably don't even think that they can help you. But the thing is, you have to use them.
Yes.
A hammer can only be effective on a nail if you use the hammer. If you don't hit the nail on the head with the hammer, it's pointless. You know, if you just have a hammer and a nail in your hands, but you don't use them, you've just got two separate things that do nothing. I mean, they're no good. So you have to use these tools. So we're putting them out there. We're giving you a tool belt. We're giving you a toolbox, a tackle box to go fishing, as we mentioned before. But you have to utilize these tools. They're there. They're available to you. That is perfect because it shows a list of several tools, and all those tools have a different purpose. But they all tie into helping you.
Yes.
And so utilize that stuff.
I suggest if you're, you know, at the end of this training and you're like, I am so ready. I am ready to do this now.
Let's go.
Okay. The first training that pops into my mind that you need to go listen to, I'm saying need because this is a very important thing for you to do. Go to our training that we did a couple weeks ago on our YouTube channel. It's called How to Fill Your Bait Box.
Yes.
Okay. You're going to want to fill your bait box up with some tools before you go out prospecting.
Exactly.
Okay. And one thing I mentioned in that training was actually understanding what this tool is, what's in this tool, what information is in this tool that I know if I'm pointing them to this, they can get that information. You know, what kind of things might they ask me, or how could I take this tool and introduce it to somebody, the actual words. I wanted to make sure when we made tools for you guys, like this warm market thing that we're working on right now, that I gave you words to say, because sometimes people can be like, I understand that you want me to do that, but I don't know what to say. So like the words are there. Go to that training.
Words are important.
They're so important. So
and the scripts, and another thing too is we have tons of scripts that we're making available on there. But in the past, when someone's in a very specific situation and they's like, none of these scripts fit the situation I'm going, because I'm going to approach a particular niche market. I'm going to approach just chiropractors who are holistic, who only are vegetarian. I mean,
have a solution.
You know,
come to the Facebook group.
Yes, come to the Facebook group. Let us know.
Type it in there.
We will make a script for you.
We want to do that for you. Please.
We will help you. We are here to help you build your business.
Yes.
And so that's something I thought I'd mention, because we used to, back in the day when we had a smaller group, yet we had more professional networkers. Scripts were something we did quite often for people, but then it became very cumbersome to do, because we started getting more and more and more people with more and more very specific requests. It wasn't like we could say, oh, we made a script for that. We're like, well, that's different. Okay, we need to make a targeted script for that. What we've done is we've taken some of the general scripts that people are going to need. We've made those available. But if you need something very specific, very targeted, very niche market, like I said, let us know. Hit us up, because you know we're still in the business of helping you build your business. So we're still available to do that kind of thing. So
we're here for you. The tools are here for you.
Yes.
Sometimes I don't know if people realize the tools that are at your disposal. The support that is at your disposal. Use it. We're at the, oh my gosh, it's December.
We're the tail end of 2021.
Yes.
Already.
Second phase of the contest just started. So prospecting is a pretty big deal when it comes to that contest.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And we're giving you training on these prospecting things every Thursday. They're short. Well, tonight's surprisingly long.
Well, it's still relatively short. It was fun.
Usually ours are around 25, 30 minutes. And you know, the other calls are around the same, 20, 30 minutes. So I mean, it's not like it takes tons of your time to watch some of these. And then if this sparks interest, we have a whole YouTube channel full of other more wordy trainings that are, you know, much longer. So I mean, even the trainings, we're making those easily available to you. We've got the tools available to you. Now I know some of you guys out there, especially some of the old school cats, you get scared when you realize it has to be something that you do on the computer. Don't be scared. just log into the portal, just read it. We're not asking you to program a computer. All you got to do is read. The tools are there. Everything's there. If you need something printed, you can print it right off of the site.
Yep.
There, I mean, everything is available to you. Everything that you hear us talk about and you think, man, that'd be great to have.
It's yours.
We have it. It's already available to you at zero cost.
Yeah.
So, you know, what are you waiting for?
What are you waiting for?
Yeah, what are you waiting for?
Come on, guys.
Come on now. But so anyway, so we've gone quite a while, you know, longer than we normally go, but I feel like we got into some great information.
Oh yeah.
And we thought this was going to be
I'm
like 10
looking
minutes long.
forward to pointing people to this training.
Yes.
Because since, like we said in the beginning, this is such a common
Yeah,
thing that
it's
people
very
run
common.
into.
Yeah. Everyone thinks that they're out of people. Everyone's like, oh, I don't have anyone else I can contact. I don't know how to find other people. There's
Your
so many
feelings are
avenues.
valid,
Yes.
but wrong. No,
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
You're right. But yeah, there's so many different options out there, and we can point you to those options. The website can give you all types of opportunities, training to find those options and to utilize, like the warm market we showed tonight. That's perfect. You find people and you don't have to just kind of put them in your phone and think, now what?
Right.
You can actually write them down, categorize them, prioritize them if you want as well. Say, well, this one, they seem like they like it, but they don't seem quite ready. So I can maybe, you know, wait on them a little bit, let it kind of marinate.
Right.
This person seems like they're really interested. I need to call them tomorrow.
Yeah.
You can prioritize them and you can categorize them however works best for you in that particular scenario.
Yes.
So again,
And
you know, there's just so much available to you.
right. You don't have to wait until the warm market training for product consumers is released. We screen shared it on this. So if you are gung-ho about starting before it's released,
Which we hope you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just pause the video on those different parts and read what's on that PDF. That is basically the final draft, but we might add some more stuff to it. If you have any ideas on things that should be added to it, let us know in the comments. We would love to oblige your requests.
Yes.
And so yeah, that is something that we are working on. It's not released, but like I said, just pause the video on those parts, read through it, get on going.
Yep. And if you have to, pause the video, get a notebook out, write it down.
Write down your people.
There's nothing wrong with a notebook.
No.
So normally I have one, not tonight. But so anyway, so yeah, I think that concludes. I think we hit the nail on the head.
Tongue, tongue.
We used the hammer. So yeah, next week, I'm not sure what we're going to talk about next week.
Product or prospecting.
Yeah, it'll be under prospecting for sure.
Always.
But how we attack it will be. We'll figure something out.
The attack is not determined.
Yeah, not just yet. We'll try and make it something thought-provoking.
Yeah.
But until next week, thank you guys so much for being on here. See several people saying hello and enjoying the information. So that makes us feel great to know that we weren't just on here rambling and entertaining ourselves. So, but yeah, so thank you so much, guys. That will conclude tonight's live. So we forgot to introduce ourselves at the beginning, but this is Frankie Shayne and Katie Lane, and we are out.